Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Bosses in Action. I'm Trenton Bodine, Director of Technology here at Tristan and Associates. And today we're going to be diving into some advanced strategies that are going to help supercharge your transaction management within Follow Up Boss. And specifically, Lisa Vo here is here to join us. She's president of Simply Close, and she's going to be walking us through Transaction Management 3.0, and she's going to be sharing some of her expertise here on how to optimize transaction management and also integrating some third-party tools to help elevate your business. So, Lisa, welcome. And why don't you kick us off here about what you're going to be kind of talking about?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everybody. Good to see y'all again. Seems like I do this about once every year, but yeah, we talked in the beginning about just custom fields, email templates, things like that. So you may have already seen previous webinars, already built out some transaction management things. So how do we supercharge? What has changed ever since the last time we kind of talked? And so we'll give some more tips and tricks as far as like how we're logging in progress updates, how we're doing weekly updates to our agents. So just streamline a lot more things in Follow Boss that you could possibly do that you may have not thought of before.
Excellent. So, kind of as we go to kick this off, I'm curious those in the audience, how many of you guys feel overwhelmed with the volume of leads and but also struggle to keep track of those follow-ups? So put it in there, yes or no. Are you feeling overwhelmed? Is there a lot of leads that you guys have? Maybe you're worrying about the tracking of the following up. Let us know. Just drop a yes or no in the chat, because Lisa here is going to help us, try to get past that and be able to really help manage some of these leads. So Lisa, why don't you start to walk us through here? What does it look like on your guys' end and how you guys are overcoming that?
Yeah, give me 1 second. Let me go ahead and share my desktop. And just let me know when you can see the screen.
We can see it.
Perfect. So, all right. So I'm inside of my Follow Boss account, and we are just going to kind of walk through and pick up where we were before. So if you know me, I love Brad Pitt. He's always buying and selling for me. So I already have him inside of my system. And a couple of things that I started doing, I don't know if we mentioned this in the last webinars, but if you haven't done so already, you basically want to take some of your custom fields and you may want to put what I call headers into them. So I remember my friend Chase Whitney, he does this. I think Shay and a couple other people as well. But basically, you can go to your custom fields and just add in a text field. So that's what this is. I usually have like three dashes in there. So, and then I put it all in caps. So I know these are my escrow details, right? You can also do other things like this is the contact details. You can do something as far as like the buyer side details. So you can break it up, all your custom fields. So it's just easier on the eyes. And that way you can just get everything a little bit more clean and organized with your custom fields. I, at this point, have about 176 custom fields, so it's really overwhelming. So I can easily just say, hey, control find on my screen, look for escrow details, and that's how I'm easily finding what I need to at a glance. So that's tip number one if you haven't been doing that. Tip number two is I started basically adding in what I call date dependencies. So I use open and close for some transaction management for some states that I manage or some agents, but there are some folks that I do TC work for that we still use their Follow Up Boss account and not open and close. So I really liked how we have date dependencies like most tasks are like 1 day before, right? Or it's going to be 3 days after closing. So what I started doing inside of my task is I literally put it so we know exactly where it's going to go and fall in the timeline. So especially this is useful for like training a virtual assistant, maybe you have a new transaction coordinator who has been in real estate but doesn't really know your workflow. You can designate a date dependency in parentheses so that when this task comes out, like, oh, great, this is 1 week before closing. It's, I'm going to move it out to whatever 1 week to closing is. Let's say this is October 31st. I'm going to now adjust this to October 24th. So if you're following some of my previous methods of how I do my action plan, all my tasks are released on day one. That means if I get the contract today, all my tasks is going to seem like it's due today. I have my virtual assistants literally go through my task list and move it and adjust it according to what timeline it's going to fall into. So that's another way you can organize your tasks. Hopefully, and that's a little bit helpful. Other thing that I've been doing is what I call starred notes. So if you haven't been using this feature, it's really, really great. Inside my star note, I already have something right here that's an example, but basically, where am I keeping my lender status? I am logging in what date I'm getting information. And so it's quick, at a glance, it's a summary, and I'm logging in the lender status, the title status. If I have a new home construction status, this can be as robust as you like to or as simple as you like to. These are really the main thing I'm keeping track of on a weekly basis for my agents. This is also on our time blocking for the TCs to do about every Thursday or every Friday, because what happens on the weekend? My agent's calling me at 9 o'clock at night on a Friday. They just got done with some showings. They really haven't kept up with the file and all the communication that's been happening between text message, emails, Slack, whatever's coming through. They just haven't had a chance to take a look at it. This will allow them to take a look in their starred notes. We filter it out. And this is sitting here for them to just quickly glance. So if they get a phone call from the lender on the weekend, they get a phone call from the client on the weekend, they can see exactly where I am with the progress with this file, what the key milestones are, and they'll be able to see that right then and there. So that's been really useful for our team to use. And then another thing is usually what happens? We get really busy and, we're only checking emails, we're only checking our calendar kind of stuff. So I have built in what I call a weekly update that goes out to my agents. So here inside my email templates, I've already created one. I'm going to look for the weekly update email, and I just call this the weekly update to my agent. This is the buyer side that I'm representing, and this is what it kind of looks like. So weekly update for 987 Main Street. Here's a weekly update. Again, this is going to be a merge field. If you looked at previous webinars I've done, you'll know what merge fields are. But here, I'll just have what the client name is. So I'm representing the buyer, or my agent is. So we're representing Brad Pitt Enterprises. This is the closing date. Again, that's pulling in from a custom field on the left-hand side here, which I've already inputted. And this is closing. Again, this is one of my custom field types. Like, what is the closing type? Is it a mobile notary? Is it signing locally at the title company? Whatever it is, it's going to pull in that information. Any questions, any notes that I actually need to email out to my agent, I'll put them in there like, did we make appraisal? Right. And I'll just quickly make those notes. Important deadline summaries. Again, all custom field things that I'm pulling in on the left-hand side. And this is probably the most beneficial. What are items that I'm putting on my settlement statement, my preliminary ALTA that I need to make sure that we get the closing disclosure correctly? So is there a home warranty credit? How much is it? Seller contribution, right? We need to make sure that's on the settlement statement. Do we have a lease back? Do we have a referral to pay to? So all of that information is pulling in. And again, I'm tracking that in my custom fields. Lastly is my updates. We just talked about starred note. So literally, if they're not looking at their follow-up boss, I'm going to copy this, put this into my email template, format if I need to, and then I'm just going to hit the schedule button so that goes out to my agent, so they'll have a weekly update. So I will time block this on my schedule. Usually, again, this is going to be like a Thursday or Friday so that my agents will quickly, be able to scan their email and say, hey, what's the update for 987 Main Street, right? I'm checking on files. Maybe they're not looking at their follow boss as closely as they need to. So I have a fail safe with my starred custom field, starred notes right here, as well as a weekly update that's going out to my agent. So that's the tips and tricks there. Other things that we've done to enhance the system, if you haven't taken a look at integrations, Open and Close has always been a beautiful integration direct partner. I do use it for multiple states. A lot of these things that I've done workarounds for are pre-built already into the Open and Close system. So you wouldn't have to put one day before closing. Open and Close will automatically designate that specific date. And so that task will show up on the date that it's supposed to. And then also your agents can look inside the Open and Close app, and they'll be able to just look at all your tasks, look at the properties that they're working with. And so it's a beautiful integration between the two. Another option, if you haven't looked into it, is interface.re. Daniel Poston, he's created really great, what we call like a basically a pending disposition form. So whenever a file goes pending, or if you have a new listing, your agents will go to the interface app inside of Follow Up Boss, which you can add to the right-hand side here. They'll fill out a couple pieces of information. And again, there's a couple cool things that will happen with interface. You can do text messaging to your clients to remind them of deadlines through Twilio. You can also have like your tasks show up on a specific date and time. So these tasks can come out the dates that you have designated as your custom field. So those are additional costs. If you're just starting out and you don't want to have those additional expenses, that just work the system within Follow Boss to have everything in one place. Once you're ready to upgrade and add some additional features, I'd say take a look at a couple more additional partners, and they'll be able to help you streamline things along the way.
Excellent, Lisa. A couple questions from the viewers here regarding some of those things you mentioned.
Yeah.
One of them is Allison had asked, is this task state dependency and automation?
It is not. Kind of yes and no. So what I do is I trigger all of my deals as an automation, and that is what is called a deal stage trigger, right? It's deal stage change. So whenever I move this, like let's say right now, 1000 Main Street, right now I'm in the buyer start temp stage, right? Once I move it over to my buyer pending resale cash, or you could simply move it over to just pending. If you have that, that's one of the Follow Boss defaults. You can have the automation that automatically applies this action plan. Now, I break down my action plan into the client type, the contract type, whether it's resale or new home, and then the financing type. Is it cash or is it a loan? So those are my 6 different types of plans, which is why I have different types of deals in there. But yes, technically it is an automation. These are inside my action plan. So when I build out my action plan for a buyer that's pending or a buyer that's pending resale cash, I will already have these inside of these action plans. So yes, the date dependencies are part of the task, part of action plans. Trigger that with an automation when a deal stage is changed.
Excellent. And when those dates are on there, are you able to edit a date specifically for one of those tasks? Or
Yeah.
since it's
So
already built out? Or?
yeah, so it's pre-filled out to let you know like what that date dependency is. But as you can see, this was February 28th, which is obviously the wrong date, right? So literally you click on the task and then you would have to manually move it to what date it needs to be. So let's say this one's supposed to be September 29th. I change that date there and hit edit the task. So it is a little time consuming. You are going to have to manually move some of these dates because they're not going to fall on the right date. But it's a task-based heavy system. At least I see all my tasks, so I know when it's supposed to happen, and then I could just move it and adjust it accordingly to whatever I see fit.
Perfect. So we have another user that uses Follow Up Boss and Dot Loop. Do you know if those two sync up with each other for tasks?
Yeah, unfortunately, they don't. This was actually posted in the Follow Boss Success community on Facebook. So if you're not part of that, please join it. But unfortunately, there is not an integration. So Dotloop, there was many years back. And for some reason, the integration just wasn't working really well. So it's not active right now. So you're not able to use it. If you want to use Dotloop with it, it's going to either have to be an integration partner. Open and Close has one where it can pull in the loop details and contacts, and it'll simplify some of your data entry, but you would have to sync it from Open and Close, from Dotloop to Open and Close, back to Follow Up Boss. So that would be the only way right now that I know currently how to sync any Dotloop or Skyslope. They have that integration with Open and Close.
Okay, perfect. And then two others had asked, what about transaction desk or paperless pipeline?
Same thing with them as well. Yeah, there's not an integration with the third party. So transaction desk, I don't think Open and Close has that. Last time I checked, I think it's just DocuSign. And I can't remember Brokerment does, but Skyslope, Dotloop, yeah, and DocuSign are the only ones with open and close. So transaction desk won't work. Zip forms will not work. I've been trying for many, many years with zip forms. That's one of the major ones that I use as well. So you could go the route of maybe like possibly building something out inside of Zapier or make.com. I think even Barra Agency with Justin Benson's company, he may be able to build something out, but that's going to be a custom build out.
Okay, and speaking of custom, one of the questions regarding the custom field dates, can you make an appointment automatically schedule using the custom field dates?
Not automatically. This will not populate. So one of my tasks inside of the action plan is to literally put the appointments as calendar invites. So here on your right-hand side as an appointment, let's say my SOP is I want to make sure the calendar goes out for when the earnest money is due, when the financing deadline is, and when the contract closing is planned for. So I can go here to appointments. I can put 1000 Main Street, and then I'll put like earnest money due. And so I'll do that maybe for today, and it's maybe an all-day event. That way it'll show up at the top of the calendar. Automatically, it's going to send it to your client. It's going to automatically notify me. And let's say my friend Eddie, my coworker Eddie is the agent, so I'll add him to that file. Now here I'll put like earnest money is due at 5 p.m. local time to First American Title. And I can put like whatever notes I can, and that'll show up on their calendar. And then I'll create that appointment. Now, depending on how you want to work your appointments, if you ever use this appointment section, I normally don't send the email and text reminder. It's a very generic message that says, hey, you have an appointment. It's technically not a report appointment, so I don't like the messaging that goes out, so I opt to leave that off. But you can send them an email and text reminder. It's going to show up on their calendar, whether they use Google or Outlook, whatever calendar app they use on their end. But this will keep everything aligned, and that way all the milestone dates that I need will go out in the appointment section.
Excellent. Another one that kind of relates to the custom fields. Have you ever tried custom fields in the deal cards to trigger notes or tasks specific to that deal instead of all the custom fields in the client record directly?
Yeah. So when we actually built this out for our agents, teams, brokerages, and TCs, we do build out the deals custom fields. We actually are not able to use it anywhere except for the smart list. So I do use the smart list to keep track of my milestones, like appraisal due in 3 days or closing coming up in 10 days. That's what this deals custom fields is really good for. Unfortunately, deals custom fields are not being able to be pulled into email merge fields. So email templates won't pull. These will only come from the left-hand side, what I call the contact custom fields. So I do a little bit of both. So it is double data entry for me and my virtual assistants. That's just something that we've gotten used to. So I will fill out everything here in the custom fields. I will also fill out everything here under the deals custom fields as well when I'm actually working a file. And yeah, they serve kind of two purposes. Again, smart lists are for deals custom fields. Contact custom fields are for email merge templates and a couple of other things that I'm using, but you would have to separate the two. If you are ended up being an interface client, there is a way where once you fill out the interface form, it will automatically add it to the left-hand side, your contact custom fields, and it can also fill out your deals custom fields, saving you a little bit of data entry time.
Okay, in addition to that, we have another user, Kelly. We use Sisu and FUB. Is there any progress on custom fields on deal cards transferring to an agent's Google Calendar and not necessarily their FUB calendar?
Let me see. So
Or would
you're
that
using
maybe tie
Follow
into
Boss.
more of the integration with the Google Calendar having that integrated?
Yeah, so I actually have Sisu with my team right now in Colorado, but I haven't used it to the full capability. But I believe now Sisu has a two-way integration with Follow Up Boss. I don't know all the data points that are coming over. I don't believe you can push appointments over to Sisu. I'll probably have to double check, and we can post this in the Follow Up Boss group to follow up. But yeah, the only way I know that you can connect is If it's showing up on your FUB calendar, but it's not showing on your Google Calendar, that probably means you have your settings off. So make sure you go to your settings, my settings on the top right, share the calendar here and make sure that's selected, because that's also what I'm looking at when I'm double checking one of my team members, if I need to schedule them for like a showing or an inspection or things like that. I'm actually double checking the calendar here, but it has to be synced to their primary calendar before you can send out those appointments.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for that.
Mhm.
Another one here. Can you create custom notification time periods in the appointment section? For an example, if I wanted to notify them 1 week in advance, or 3 days in advance, or 1 day in advance.
Yeah, so unfortunately, you can't change the reminder. So it would be preset to whatever the end user's calendar. So let's say I send this to my agent. Their default for their Google Calendar or Microsoft Outlook is for 3 days before. That's the reminder that they're going to get when that calendar invite like shows up on their calendar. So you won't be able to adjust that. You'd actually have to go into their physical calendar, whether they're using Microsoft Office, Outlook, or Gmail, Google Calendar, and then adjust it for the reminders if you wanted that to happen. So, but that's a really good feature update. I wish you would be able to do that. I haven't seen any third-party transaction management or CRM be able to do that yet. But yeah, you'd have to go into directly to the calendar and change that notification for that person. So if you don't have access to your client's calendar, unfortunately, you wouldn't be able to do that for them. Now, the way you can get around that is a smart list. So let's say you have an appraisal that's coming up in 3 days. You can have a task that says, or a smart list, and then just send an actual email template or a text to the client saying, hey, reminder, the appraiser is coming up in 3 days and we should be expecting it back within a week or something like that.
Okay, we have another one as well that goes, how do I streamline merge field emails so I don't need to fill them out for each contact?
How do you streamline email merge fields?
Yes. And Paige, maybe you can be a little bit more specific on what you mean by that, and we can jump back into that as well.
Yeah.
Um,
Uh, the only thing I can think of is probably how do you streamline maybe your custom fields, because this is what's pulling in to your email merge fields, if that's correct. The only way you would be able to do that is if you just have a really long custom field. There are limitations to custom fields, so you wouldn't be able to write like a 10-page novel inside of these text fields. They are a little bit shorter in characters. But like, let's say you don't want the seller first name and seller last name. I do this specifically because this is what's pulling into my email templates. So like I said, if this is Brad Pitt Enterprises, is pulling in the company name and not just the buyer's first name from the contact record. You could have one that just says seller full name, right? Or buyer full name. The problem with that is when you're sending out emails, it's always going to say, hello, Brad Pitt. And then you'd have to go through, edit the email, delete out what's not necessary. It just saves me a lot of time if I have more custom fields and I break it out by what I call individual fields instead of one long custom field. So it seems like a lot of custom fields, but it will serve its purpose if you can like customize it and make your custom fields very individualized so that you're not always having to go through double check and delete information when you're sending out an email.
Great. Yeah, she wants to, she meant for everyone in the transaction and kind of what you were alluding to. She wants dates and custom info to auto-populate for multiple parties without adding the info to each individual in the transaction. So I think that's kind
Yeah.
of what you were covering there.
Yeah, so the only other way I can think of doing that is if you just wanted to put it here. So you can, in the automations, create a note, right? That note can tag your collaborator, your TC, so they can fill out this form. So you could do something like, instead of everything here on my custom fields, you literally could just type it out as a note template. So it could be closing date, right? It could be lender name, could be title, officer, so all those things in those custom fields, you could put it there as a note, star it. Your TC could be the one that actually fills out everything. But when you're ready to send out that email template, because there's no merge fields and there's no way to pull in that note, just like I did with that email for the weekly update, just copy all of this, paste that into your email.
And while we're on the topic of custom fields, can you import a list of custom fields? For an example, like can you share your custom fields that you have with another user so they don't have to be built out manually?
There's not an easy way to do it. We have our own tool that's built through Retool. Actually, Bar Agency helped us with that. So basically, we have everything on a Follow Up Boss blueprint template. So if you watch some of my other previous webinars, there is a template that I use. Basically, it has all my custom fields listed out. There is an extra thing called an order weight, meaning what order I want it to come in. And then I use retool.com to pull that in. That is the only way to do it. If you're not doing this on a daily basis, like our team is setting up for multiple agents, that may be a little bit too complex, a little bit too robust, but there's not an actual easy way to copy it into another FUB user's account. You can with automations where you can turn it on and share it with people. But for custom fields, it's going to have to be a custom build.
Thanks, Lisa. And okay, so now the $1 million question. Where can we find this service and how can we add this application?
Yeah, so to find us, it's Lisa Loves FUB. So LisaLovsFUB.com. I just tested my website. We changed the domain server settings, so it's not up and running. But if you need to get a hold of us, just feel free to text or email. It's 346-423-3500, or send us an email. It's team@simplyclosed.com, and we'll be able to get a hold of you. So we'll do a discovery call. We'll walk through, even if you just want me to take a peek under your system and is this done correctly? How can it be more efficient? We just love to help other people because I wish this was around for us when we first started 10 years ago. And so, yeah, we'll set up a call, get through that, and we'll just show you how to do it yourself, or we can actually build it out for you. And our turnaround time used to be 2 weeks. We're now getting a little bit faster, have more team members, have really cool automated tools. We can probably get this done for you within 3 to 5 business days now. So we're trying to cut down the time for the install.
That's awesome, Lisa. And thank you for going through all of this. And for everyone that is currently on the webinar or missed a little bit of it, this is recorded and it'll be uploaded to Follow Up Boss's YouTube channel and also dropped into the success community as well. So if you have not joined that, definitely join that for more information and to stay up to date on all things Follow Up Boss and to make sure that you guys are aware of any other future Follow Up Bosses in action classes and webinars here that we are teaching you guys these things. Lisa, anything else that you want to share? We got about a minute or two left. Any closing thoughts?
Yeah, we really still love this system. Again, we use the integration partners. Follow Boss is still fantastic. I think it really depends where you are with your journey and your budget. So we normally give people a scale use Follow Up Boss for up to about 5 to 10 transactions a month. Have a dedicated admin, VA, TC that's handling these tasks. Once you get about 5 to 10 files, you can start looking at maybe open and close or interface, something to help you streamline the process. Also, we'll be launching this probably right after Unlock, since we're going there to meet some of you in person. But we're also launching our Follow Boss Deals Coordinator services, meaning we will log into your Follow Boss once we set up the install, or if you already have it set up, we'll follow your method. We'll actually be your listing coordinator, transaction coordinator, use all your tools, use the steps that you set up. And so, yeah, we'll be launching that pretty soon.
That's awesome. Thank you, Lisa, for joining us here for Bosses in Action. As always, love having you here. Love seeing all the information you guys continue to share. So thank you very much for that. And thank you all for joining us as well. And we will see you in 2 weeks for the next episode of Bosses in Action.
Thank you all so much. Bye.